Beneath the Iraqi desert, something waited, something that had been buried for over 4,000 years. In early 2003, German archaeologist Jörg Fassbinder aimed ground-penetrating radar deep into the sand. What came back on those screens would change everything we thought we knew about human civilization. An entire city, perfectly preserved beneath layers of earth and time, laid out exactly as described in humanity's oldest story, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Houses, gardens, fields, and an elaborate network of canals, so sophisticated that Fassbinder's team called it Venice in the desert. But it was what they found on the city's edge that made headlines around the world. A tomb. Not just any tomb. The tomb. The burial place that matched, detail for detail, the resting place of King Gilgamesh himself, a figure historians had dismissed as pure mythology. According to the ancient epic, Gilgamesh stood 17 feet tall, part human, part divine, blessed with superhuman strength, and described as unsurpassed in all things. The epic claimed he had explored everywhere the seats of power and obtained the totality of wisdom about all things. When Fassbinder addressed the press, he chose his words carefully. I don't want to say definitely it was the grave of King Gilgamesh, but it looks very similar to that described in the epic. Think about what that means. If this tomb matched the epic's description, and the epic described Gilgamesh as a 17-foot giant, then what exactly did Fassbinder expect to find inside? And beyond that, what records of his totality of wisdom might be buried with him? What knowledge had he obtained while searching for the secrets of eternal life? These are exactly the kinds of secrets that powerful people would do almost anything to possess. Then, without warning, the site went dark. Weeks after the discovery, the United States invaded Iraq. Fassbinder and his team fled. The excavations stopped. The tomb was never opened. At least, not publicly. 1849. Northern Iraq. English archaeologist Austen Henry Layard uncovered something extraordinary in the ruins of an ancient library. Clay tablets covered in a mysterious script that no living person could read. Over 15,000 fragments were sent to the British Museum, where they sat for decades, silent and inscrutable. Then came George Smith, a banknote engraver with no formal education beyond age 14. Obsessed with the artifacts emerging from Iraq, he spent lunch breaks teaching himself dead languages in the museum's halls. By 1866, the staff noticed. They offered him a job: translate the 15,000 fragments. For years, Smith worked in obscurity. Then, in 1872, he stood before the Society of Biblical Archaeology, the British Prime Minister, in attendance, and revealed what he'd found: an ancient flood, a catastrophic deluge that wiped out humanity, save for one man and his family. The room erupted. Some proclaimed it proof of Noah's flood. Others saw something far older, evidence that the biblical story had been copied from an even more ancient source. Smith had begun translating the Epic of Gilgamesh, the oldest written story in human existence. He published full translations in 1875. The world learned of an ancient Mesopotamian king who ruled what is now Iraq thousands of years in the past, a tyrant who learned humility when the gods created a rival named Enkidu, how they wrestled to a stalemate and became inseparable friends, their epic adventures together. And then, tragedy. When Enkidu died, Gilgamesh spent the rest of his life searching for the secret of eternal life. Smith died suddenly in 1876, only 36 years old, his work incomplete. But the translation continued. Generation after generation, scholars revealed more of the epic. They discovered it had influenced the Iliad, Homer's Odyssey, the foundational texts of Western literature. And as they translated, one thing became clear. Gilgamesh was searching for something, the secret to eternal life, and according to the text, he found it. The question that haunted researchers: if his tomb exists, what did he take with him? For 20 years, people have asked, why did the United States really invade Iraq? Iraq had no connection to the September 11th attacks. The weapons of mass destruction were never found. The claim later admitted to be false. Some say oil, others say politics. But consider the timeline. The tomb of Gilgamesh was discovered. Global headlines. Then, within weeks, invasion. As US forces entered Iraq, they immediately established a military encampment around the Gilgamesh site. Scientists were removed. Media crews from ABC and the BBC were sent home. The story vanished overnight. But witnesses began to report something strange. US military personnel digging at the site, removing materials, loading trucks under cover of darkness. If they opened that tomb, what did they find? And where did they take it? The tomb of Gilgamesh was far from the only site where mysterious events unfolded. Baghdad, the National Museum of Iraq, one of the most important repositories of human history on Earth. Before the invasion, scientists warned the US military, this museum is the single most important cultural site in the country. It must be protected at all costs. When American forces took Baghdad, they left the museum completely unguarded. For days, looters ransacked the building. Tens of thousands of priceless artifacts disappeared. The international community called it a crime against humanity. One outlet compared it to blowing up Stonehenge. But witnesses reported something else. Before the looters entered, special US military units had already been inside. They removed entire vaults of artifacts, loaded them into trucks, and disappeared. The US government sent an investigation team led by Colonel Michael Bogdanos, a Marine commander, lawyer, and scholar of classical studies. What Bogdanos found disturbed him. The facility was badly damaged. Iraqi army uniforms scattered everywhere. Expended rocket-propelled grenades littered the courtyards. Why had the Iraqi army chosen this sacred site for defense, surely knowing their fight was hopeless? But there was something else. Deep in the underground storage vaults, someone had already been there before the looters arrived. Some artifacts were missing, but the empty boxes and fake replicas the museum stored alongside priceless works had been left completely untouched. Whoever had been there knew exactly which artifacts were real and which were decoys. For Bogdanos, the conclusion was clear. It was immediately clear that these thieves knew what they were looking for and where to look. They had been organized and selective. Oddly, they left the most valuable items behind. The world's finest collection of cylinder seals remained. Tens of thousands of ancient gold and silver coins sat undisturbed. If common looters had breached the vaults, why hadn't they taken the most obviously valuable items? If they knew what they were looking for, then what were they looking for? Some researchers believe they have an answer. The 1920s. Rumors spread through government channels worldwide. An ancient Stargate, a portal that allowed instantaneous travel across vast distances. It sounds impossible, but Iraq was no stranger to these stories. In ancient Sumerian texts, there are accounts of beings called the Anunnaki, gods who descended from the heavens and bestowed advanced wisdom and technology upon humanity. Some believe these Anunnaki were not gods at all, but ancient extraterrestrial visitors. If Iraq was visited by advanced beings from beyond our world, then remnants of their technology might still exist. In the 1920s, major powers took this seriously. They sent representatives to hunt for the Stargate. Some believe the Anglo-Iraqi War in 1941 was a front for a fight between British and German forces over control of it. Yet no Stargate was officially found. The rumors faded until the 1980s. Fresh rumors claimed Saddam Hussein had rediscovered the Stargate, that he was studying it, attempting to make it functional. By the late 1990s, US intelligence reportedly became concerned that Saddam might actually be close to success. If he unlocked it, he could travel anywhere instantaneously. He could potentially contact extraterrestrial civilizations. Dr. Michael Salla, a historian at American University, published an academic paper declaring that control of the Iraqi Stargate was the true reason for the war. Could an ancient portal really have been the reason the Iraq War started? But maybe it goes deeper. 1991, the Gulf War. According to the Russian newspaper Pravda, a Russian colonel witnessed something extraordinary: the US Air Force shooting down a UFO over Iraqi airspace. The colonel rushed to the crash site. What he found stunned him. A circular craft, 15 feet in diameter, made from an unknown material, about 1/3 torn apart by American missiles. Inside were 3 chairs, sized for pilots only 3 feet tall. But there were no bodies, no remains, nothing that resembled an engine. Saudi radar detected no ejection. Helicopters found no survivors anywhere near the site. Someone had already been there. Someone had recovered the crew and the propulsion system. The question was, who? The story remained buried for over a decade. Then, in late 2002, a caller to an American radio show claiming to be a military insider provided an answer. Iraq had recovered materials from the crash. Saddam's scientists had been reverse engineering the alien technology for years. According to the caller, US intelligence believed they were close to a breakthrough. They had to be stopped. A few months later, the United States invaded Iraq. Could reverse-engineered extraterrestrial technology be what the military removed from the National Museum before looters entered? Perhaps weapons of mass destruction was code for alien technology. Perhaps the government wasn't lying, just using language the public would accept. 3 possibilities. 1. Invasion. The tomb of Gilgamesh and his totality of wisdom. Knowledge that could reshape our understanding of history. An ancient Stargate left by the Anunnaki, capable of instantaneous travel. Reverse-engineered alien technology from a 1991 crash, nearly operational. Perhaps all 3. 20 years later, the tomb of Gilgamesh remains officially sealed. The museum artifacts were never fully recovered, and somewhere, in a facility whose location we may never know, something taken from the Iraqi desert might be waiting to be studied, waiting to reveal its secrets. The question isn't whether these secrets exist. The question is, who has them now? If this story fascinates you, share your thoughts and theories below. And if you want to continue exploring the secrets of the ancient world, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications.